Hey there, welcome to Coffee Break Plans. The topic this week is having a stack of notebooks versus having one notebook. As always, there is good and bad in each option, and spoiler alert, you can have both or a version of both. I'm going to start with the one notebook because that's what I did for 7 years when I was bullet journaling, and I'm cheating a little bit. This is not my bullet journal. This is my commonplace notebook, but I used the Lecterm 1917s as my bullet journal for quite some time, so that's why I'm just going to use this. So starting with the worst as always, and we finish on a happy note. So the biggest disadvantage to having a one notebook to rule them all is you are either limited in size or you end up carrying around a huge notebook. Anything above A5, and this is 250 pages, you're starting to get on the bulky side. If you are someone who has, like I have a large bag and I just carry around my planner, and my planner is a lot bigger than this. It's this size. I carry that around to most places that I go. And I think it's at the absolute limit of the size of what you want for an everyday carry. If you're happy using an A5 in size, you're probably okay. But if you want something bigger, then you need to carry around something bigger. The second worst thing is that there's a lot of flipping of pages. So even with an index, and I have an index here just for, this is my commonplace notebook, so it just has quotes from books and songs, etc. Even with an index, it can get really tiresome, especially once you get to 3 odd pages of index, trying to find where all your stuff is. So if you're trying to find this week's appointments, or you're trying to find the list of books you wanted to read, or you just want a blank page to brainstorm on, you're constantly flipping around. Now you do have the ribbons, and of course you can have bookmarks, but the more ribbons and bookmarks that you use, the less useful they are. So that was one of my biggest frustrations in using a one notebook system, was the flipping backwards and forwards constantly. And even worse, once you got into the year to year, I couldn't remember which year had which item in it. So it started to get quite cumbersome and annoying. So the next disadvantage is that the size that you choose may not fit all the content you want. Your A5, and by extension your A4 size spread, may not be big enough for, say, a reading spread. So you might want something with a little bit more decoration and requires a little bit more space, and you need a larger page. But say for your weeklies, you may struggle to fill this larger space and you end up with wasted space. The next disadvantage is that having everything in one book can make it more nerve-wracking to carry around. So I started off last year with this as my everyday carry, and it contained all my tasks, my appointments, my trackers, and my personal daily journal. And the same with all of my bullet journals that I had before that. And there's nothing worse than pulling out your notebook to write down an appointment and having to page through all those personal journals and trackers to find the space to write down what it is you need to write. Or even worse, if you lose track of where your notebook is, a couple of times I would get home and think, heck, I've left it on my desk at work. So that is one of the biggest reasons why I moved away from the one notebook system. But of course, the best of it, and there's only one big reason here rather than several smaller ones, you have everything you need in one book. If you need your trackers, they're there. If you need to make an appointment, you can just open the page and write your appointment down. If you have a spare moment and you want to quickly bash out a journal entry while something's on your mind, you can do it straight away. This is the best system to have for that. For someone who came from the one book system to a stack system, this is the thing I miss the most. I found a way around it, but I have to tell you, it just ain't the same. Now, onto the stacks. The worst part about having a stack is space. If you're using a series of notebooks, they need to be easily accessible, and that takes up space in your working area or in your bag. This is my core stack that I use either daily or monthly, and that's how bulky it is. So that's a lot of stuff that's taking up space, not in my bag, I don't carry it everywhere, but in my work area they will usually be floating around somewhere. The second worst thing is it can get a bit much. You can have a notebook for every single aspect of your life, and some people do. I have a cleaning planner, for example. Some people have gardening notebooks. I have honestly seen content that has someone, they have a tracker on every single page. There's about 20 of them, and every day they go through and mark down what the weather was like, what their mood was like, how much sleep they got, anything you can imagine. They have a tracker for it, and they have to do that every single day over 20 spreads, 365 days of the year. Oh my God. I also watch creators who have 5+ notebooks that they use, or should I say more accurately, that they intend to use every day. And I've never really seen any of them keep those habits up for more than, say, a month or two. Even full-time creators can create too many notebooks to fill out, and it can become overwhelming. So if you're going to have a stack, make sure it is sensible and usable. The best part about having a stack of notebooks is that each notebook can be selected relevant to its use. So I've already kind of discussed this in some of the previous items, but if you want a large spread with lots of decorative pieces like this one, which was for an October reading challenge, you want a bigger piece of paper to do it on. If you want to use watercolors or heavy markers or fountain pens, this is an Archer and Olive book. You're going to move to a book like this with its heavy page weight. If you want something to jot untidy notes down in and be able to carry it with you, you're going to want something smaller and cheaper. And here's an example. Here's a bog standard notebook that you can get in New Zealand, but I'm guessing everywhere, that costs about $1, and it's nice and small. And here's an A5 cheap notebook that I think I picked up at Whitcoulls. So you've got these options for smaller, cheaper options if you have a stack rather than the one notebook that you carry with you. The next best thing about a stack is that you only need to take what you need with you. So my everyday carry is this one here, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute. But if I'm going out on a social occasion, I'm not going to take that with me. When I go to my book club, I just take my reading journal, and then I can just hand it to anyone in the book club, and I know all they're going to be reading about are the books. There's nothing personal in it. There's no appointments or tasks or anything unnecessary. It's just my reading stuff. So now that we've looked at the good and the bad for both, remember you don't have to pick one over the other. I use a hybrid system. I have one planner that is future facing. This is in fact 4 planners in one. In fact, it's probably even more than 4 planners because it has lists and a whole pile of stuff like that. This is a disc planner. It's large enough to fit everything I need on a decent sized page. So it opens up to this size. It's a bit bigger because it has expanded discs. Has my personal tasks and time in here, has my goals, has my creative section. There's my YouTube schedule for 2026, which is frighteningly empty. I'm kidding, it's all drafted somewhere else at the moment. And then I have my work diary in the back here because I like to keep my work and personal separate. And I'm using a horizontal layout. So there's another little advantage of having a bit of a hybrid system with a sort of a mini stack in here, that you can pick the layouts that fit each part. You don't have to have the same layout for everything. So this is large enough to fit everything I need on a good size page, but it is small enough, believe it or not, to fit into my work bag. The disc system means I can adapt it as I need to. I can take bits out and change things around and try new things, which I find really, really useful. I also have my journal. I haven't filled it out yet because although you may be seeing this in January, I am in fact filming this in December. So I have my trackers all ready to go for next year. And then of course there's room in here for daily journaling. So this is about what's already happened and if I want to reflect on something in the past. This one goes with me pretty much everywhere. And this one stays at home safe. And for those times when I'm taking a really small bag with me, I have my capture notebook, which is just an old common planner that served its purpose and now it has a whole pile of blank pages in the back. I have a very small bag that's pretty much just a kind of a fat wallet with a handle, and I have this in here and a pen. If I need to note something down while I'm out and I don't have any other material with me, it goes into here. I do really miss my bullet journal. I really liked the one notebook system that I used for 7 years, but I don't miss worrying about losing it, and I don't miss having to constantly page through to find stuff. So at the moment, this kind of hybrid stack system is what's working for me. One day, possibly, I could go back to a bullet journal type system. That's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed that and have a great week. I'll see you next time.